Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a recipe for you called carne en su jugo. It's a beef recipe that is really quick and really tasty. Let's get right into how to make it. I needed some non-copyrighted music, but I couldn't find any, so I had to make my own, and I have no idea what I'm doing. For this recipe, I used half a package of bacon, 5 green onions, 5 tomatillos, a half a bunch of cilantro, 1 jalapeno, and half a tablespoon of salt, 1 cup of water, a quarter of an onion, 1 garlic clove, 1.5 pounds of thin-cut beef strips, and frijoles de la olla, which is basically whole beans from the can. I use my home canned beans, but it means beans from the pot, so basically not refried beans. Alright, so the first thing that I'm tossing in the pot here is the bacon, and I'm only using half a package, and I have cut it into small chunks, and I'm just going to fry this up. I want to break up all these little chunks so that way they are evenly spaced in the pot so that they can cook up really well. And what I'm aiming for here is a nice crispy bacon, and I want to get all of the fat rendered out because we're going to be cooking the rest of our ingredients in that bacon fat. And yep, I know that sounds really bad, but you'll be okay. It's going to taste delicious, so just do a HIIT workout, go pull out that jump rope, do what you gotta do. I know you're hard workers, so you'll be okay. Having fats in your diet is very important. It's the sugar that's the culprit for a lot of health issues and stuff like that. So, not too worried about the fat. I think it tastes good, and I think it's really important to keep it in our diet. I have my flame on about a medium heat, and I'm kind of doing a little bit low temperature just because the bacon cooks up better when you cook it a little bit lower, but I do want to get this done, so just take your time and get all the little pieces separated so that it has a nice crisp on each of the little bacons. And yeah, like I said, this might take a little bit of time, but it will definitely be worth it to make sure you break up all these little pieces. It's like this because I cut it all. I didn't separate it before I cut it, so I just cut it as it was chunked together. So now I'm working on getting that all separated. While that is frying, I went ahead and tossed a jalapeno in there because my husband likes to have one on the side that is cooked. And I also went ahead and started heating up my beans. So you can use your home canned beans or regular store canned beans, or if you have a pot that you cook on the side, then that's what you just want to use, but these beans are not going to be refried. And I usually serve this meal up with pinto beans, but feel free to choose if you like mayocoba or black beans. Actually, I like mayocoba beans, but they're a little bit more expensive. And if you like black beans better, feel free to serve it up with black beans. But for this meal, it's usually served up with the pinto beans. Alright, so the bacon's just about done and the beans are heating up, so I'm going to go ahead and toss everything that we need for the salsa. That's 1 jalapeno, 5 tomatillos, and a half a bunch of cilantro into the blender. And this bacon is done, so I will be removing this and setting it aside. And the next thing that I'm going to toss into this oil is the green onions. I only had 3, but I would have used more, like around 5 if I had it. So I just cut them in half, and I am frying them up really quickly in the bacon grease. And then I'm going to pull those out when they're just about done. I'm waiting for them to look a little bit softer just to grab the flavor into the oil. And then you can go ahead and toss the meat in there. I'm also trying to separate this so that it'll be more separated on the bottom, and then I can just throw the chunks in there and it'll get a nice even cook on there. Sure, just a sec. So all I have in here is the jalapeno that we cooked and our 5 tomatillos and about a half a bunch of cilantro. I'm going to put in some salt Salt the meat. Sure, babe. And I'm gonna put about a half a cup of water into the blender and blend this. We have our meat cooking up. We have our onion and our bacon to the side here. So I'm heating up these beans here. I only put in half a quart, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and add in the rest of the beans. And the meat, I am just making sure that I get the little strips separated so that way they can cook evenly and get nice and fried. And I'm going kind of for a little bit crispy here. We'll simmer it later so that way it will get nice and tender. So I'm just making sure that all of the little pieces are separated so that they can cook nice and evenly. And I really like this meal because it's the kids like it. It's not too spicy and it is pretty simple. It just takes a while. The longest part is just waiting for this meat to cook. But other than that, it's really simple. So easy, in fact, that I forgot to add my onion and my garlic to the salsa. Now, back at the stove here, you can see that the meat is starting to look more fried, and that's what we're looking for. So now it's ready to add our salsa, and the same way before, I'm just adding it straight into the oil and letting it fry up. And this, we're gonna let it simmer for a little bit so that the meat can grab all of the flavor of the salsa. So I'm just going to give this a quick stir and make sure that it gets mixed in really well. We're going to let this simmer for about 5 to 10 minutes. And you also want to be sure to check it for salt at this point because you still have a chance to get your meat salted if it doesn't have enough salt in it right now. So I'm actually going to switch it up to high to bring it up to a quick boil, and then I'll drop it down and let it simmer. And here I'm just adding a little bit of water that I used to clean out the rest of the salsa from my blender and just pouring that right in. And then I'm just going to give this a quick stir and we'll let it continue simmering. I still have the flame on. Well, I dropped it down to low after it came to a boil. And now I'm going to add in the stuff that we set aside, which is the bacon and the fried onions. And I'm just going to stir that in, mix it really well. And I'm going to let this simmer without the lid on for about 10 minutes to really grab the flavor and soften up the meat. There we go. So here we are about 10 minutes later.
Mommy!
Yes, sweetie pie?
We are racing out fruits.
I know, I have to go store again pretty soon.
You should be only 2 more fruits.
So to plate this up, I am just taking a couple of scoops of beans. And I want to put enough to cover the plate. So I'm just going to spread it out and kind of leave a little hole right there in the middle. And then you take the carne and su jugo and you put it right in the middle. And you want to get as much of that salsa if you want. I should have left over some bacon bits out of the side to serve on top, but I totally forgot and just dumped them all in. It's still going to taste good, but the presentation would have been nicer if I had bacon bits on top. And there it is. That is a really easy dinner. It tastes really delicious. I put fresh onion on top as well as some lime. Please hit the thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe if you like the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I needed some non-copyrighted music, but I couldn't find any. So I had to make my own, and I have no idea what I'm doing.